Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you are watching Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Today, we look at why the Digg users aren't digging it. So Digg, which some of you may be familiar with, in fact, I would assume that most of you are, is a social news website that launched a long time ago in the history of the social web. And their last big update was actually in 2006, so it's been a while since Digg version 3 came out. Digg version 4 just came out on August 25th of this year, and reaction has been pretty swift and vocal. There are some definite bugs in there, and the diggers aren't all that amused. Now, Kevin Rose, who's the founder of Digg, has addressed a number of these in a blog post on his website, and they're reacting pretty quickly to these things. So this is a complete rewrite of the entire website, and you would expect in doing that there would be a number of things that would change or that might be broken. And so they are actually reacting very quickly to what's coming out of the Digg users. And so although the community is not all that happy with the new result, they are actually starting to adapt pretty quickly and making changes to it. If you're not familiar with Digg, it's basically a news website, so very similar to other websites that collect news stories and aren't actually a news reporting source in themselves. The difference with Digg is that the top stories are curated by the Digg community who vote them up and down. One of the biggest changes that happened in the new version of Digg is the introduction of a My News page, which is a customized feed showing stories that your friends have commented, dug, and shared. It used to be that everybody basically saw the same Digg homepage, and so the stories that were on there were calculated with a very complicated algorithm that took into account how quickly they were gaining digs and how many digs they had and all that sort of stuff. Now, by default, you land on a My News page where you're seeing stories that are only from people that you have a connection with. You can still go to the Top News tab, which is the next tab over, and when you do that, you can actually see the stories the way that you used to see them on Digg. Some of the older school diggers aren't happy about it, but I actually think it's a pretty great move. It really enhances the social feeling of Digg, and you're seeing a lot of the stuff that's come through the collective wisdom of your social graph. So they filtered things out for you, and you're already friends with those people, which suggests that you probably trust them, and so as a result, you're seeing what they're suggesting that you might find interesting. One of the other issues that the diggers got a lot of chagrin about was the bury button, which used to allow you to bury a story rather than digging it up, has disappeared. And I actually think that this is probably a good thing as well. There used to be this phenomenon on Digg known as the bury brigades who would decide that they didn't want a story to make the homepage and then would start piling in and all burying it. And without a bury button, they can't do that anymore. Though there is still a report button there, so that allows you to report things that may not be appropriate, there's no longer a bury button that allows you to hide stories. One of the most controversial additions is the new auto-submit mechanism that allows you to put an RSS feed into the site, and it will automatically submit any news stories that come out of that RSS feed into Digg for voting on. This is probably the most contentious point with a number of users. There was a great moment where the Digg users had started voting up any story that came from Reddit, which was automatically pulled in from Reddit's RSS feed, to the homepage, so that the Digg homepage for a little while was only stories that had come from Reddit. Now, Reddit is a competitive social news website that was started by a bunch of guys who went through the Y Combinator program, and it's probably benefited the most from this whole thing because a number of Digg users are defecting over to Reddit because they're not happy with the new version. So I think there's a number of good lessons here for startups. There's always a temptation to do a big monolithic rewrite of your application, but it's a very dangerous thing. It feels like if we just ditch everything we've got, all this legacy code that's so hard to maintain, we can start fresh, we've learned so much, we can rebuild it. It rarely works, especially if it's going to take 18 months to do the rewrite, which is what Digg version 4 has taken to do. Now, Digg mitigated this pretty well. They launched version 4 into a beta and did a control test for a number of months, and that allowed them to get a sense of what was broken and fix a whole bunch of those bugs and make sure that it was working pretty well when it went live. That said, the day that it went live, it went down because so many people were interested in it, and it hadn't been optimized yet for that number of interest. At least that's the story that we hear. I find it hard to believe that Digg's servers weren't optimized for a lot of interest, since that's what they do. But at any rate, the lesson here for startups is try to avoid the temptation of that massive rewrite if you can, because it rarely works out the way that you're hoping to, and if anything, you only end up alienating your users. This is probably Digg's 5th major revolt since it started, but if you've been following Facebook, you know that they go through any number of them every time they do something like change the newsfeed or privacy settings or release beacon or whatever. The bottom line as a startup is, if you're not breaking things, you're not going fast enough. And so I would say kudos to Digg on this, because they really took a chance by changing a bunch of the core things about the platform, and that has put them in a position to really be able to succeed at the next level. It's too early to say whether that's going to work, but I'm hoping it is, and I'm going to be on there digging stuff too. If you're looking to register a new domain name, hover.com is a great place to register your next one. Use the promo code at the bottom of the screen that you can see right now and save 10% off your next purchase. I'm Jay Goldman. This has been Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.